It's finally happening, and it's not just another internet rumor. If you've been watching the news, scrolling through Facebook groups, or talking with friends at the senior center about these new Social Security payments, you've likely heard whispers of a $5,400 direct deposit. And yes, there's a real story here. But before you start planning how you might use that money, let's break down exactly what's happening, who qualifies, and why this update matters more now than ever. We all know the cost of living isn't what it used to be. Groceries are up. Prescription prices are through the roof. And for many folks living on fixed incomes, whether you're getting Social Security retirement, SSDI for a disability, SSI for low income, or VA benefits, it's a monthly juggling act to stay ahead. So when a figure like $5,400 shows up in your newsfeed, it's easy to feel hopeful, but also skeptical. Here's the truth. Multiple government programs are now being updated, reviewed, and even expanded in response to inflation and persistent pressure from senior advocacy groups. The number $5,400 didn't come out of thin air. It's tied to a combination of back payments, new relief proposals, and state-level supplements that are stacking up for qualified recipients. And yes, in some confirmed cases, eligible individuals have already received multi-thousand-dollar lump sum deposits in their accounts. But this isn't a one-size-fits-all situation. That's why today's video matters, because we're cutting through the misinformation to give you exactly what's confirmed, what's still pending, and what steps you may need to take right now to make sure you don't miss out. This isn't about theories or clickbait, it's about real information, backed by verified updates from the SSA, VA, and federal relief programs. So if you're wondering, is this real? Will I get it? What do I have to do? Stick with me. The answers are clearer than you think. So let's start by answering the biggest question first. Is this $5,400 payment real? The answer is yes, but with some important context. You see, not every single Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or VA recipient is going to automatically wake up one morning and see $5,400 magically appear in their bank account. But what is happening right now is a combination of benefit adjustments, overdue back payments, state-level supplemental checks, and in some cases, settlements or federal relief expansions that are adding up to real money. And yes, those totals have gone into the thousands for quite a few eligible recipients. Now here's where it gets interesting. Over the last 6 months, we've seen a rise in the number of cases where people who qualified for certain back pay, especially from Social Security disability or VA benefits, were finally paid after long delays. In some of those situations, folks were owed months or even years of missed payments due to errors, appeals, or processing delays. And when those back payments finally cleared, the lump sums were big, sometimes $3,000, $4,000, even over $5,000 depending on how long they'd been waiting and how much they were entitled to monthly. These aren't isolated events. They've happened in multiple states and have been confirmed by caseworkers, legal advocates, and even SSA reps. Then there's the second layer, state supplemental payments. Depending on where you live, some states provide their own additional payments to SSI or low-income Social Security recipients. For example, states like California, New York, and Michigan have offered seasonal or emergency relief payments that can range from a few $100s to well over $1,000. Some of those payments are issued as one-time checks, while others come in the form of direct deposits that people often confuse with federal SSA deposits. So when someone receives a sudden $1,200 or $2,000 in their account, it's easy to assume it's from Social Security, when in fact, it might be from a state treasury or special program aimed at cost of living assistance. Let's also talk about a less publicized but very real source of these larger deposits: legal settlements involving veterans and the Social Security Administration. There have been a handful of successful class action suits and benefit correction initiatives that resulted in substantial payouts to veterans and people on SSDI who were underpaid due to outdated processing systems. These aren't situations that apply to everyone, but if you've ever appealed a denied benefit, fought a miscalculation, or were caught in a bureaucratic delay, it's worth checking in with your SSI office or even reviewing your SSI account for any payment notices or updates you may have missed. Another piece of this puzzle is the way COLA, the cost of living adjustment, has been stacking year after year. Now, we all know COLA doesn't always feel like enough, especially when rent, groceries, and medical costs go up even faster. But what many don't realize is that when COLA increases are calculated and applied, they sometimes lead to delayed or adjusted payments from previous months, especially for those on SSI or SSDI. Let's say you were underpaid after a COLA kicked in, but it wasn't processed on time. SSA might eventually send you a lump sum correction. Combine that with a state payment or a backlogged federal boost, and yes, that number can rise into the thousands. And here's something else to keep in mind. A large number of people have reached out after receiving unexpected deposits and shared their stories, many of which involve receiving letters from SSA or their state agencies weeks or even months after the money hit their account. That's a reminder to always keep an eye on your mail and to check your online SSA portal regularly. Sometimes the notice explaining why you received money comes after the deposit. That delay can cause confusion, and in some cases, folks thought the money was a mistake or even a scam. But more often than not, it was something they were rightfully owed. Of course, not every person watching this video will qualify for a $5,400 payment. But that doesn't mean you should tune out, because what you'll learn here can help you find out what you personally may be eligible for. One of the most powerful steps you can take right now is to review your SSA account and VA records if you're a veteran. Look for payment histories, missed months, appeals still pending, or even letters that mention recalculations or audits. If you notice something that doesn't add up, follow up. Sometimes, all it takes is a phone call or an in-person visit to unlock thousands that were sitting there waiting for you. Now let's address a major concern many people have. Is this a scam? It's a fair question. There's no shortage of people online making wild claims to get clicks or sell something. But in this video, there's no product to buy and no catch. We're just connecting the dots on real payment events backed by state and federal data. When you hear about someone getting $5,400, it's not a sweepstakes. It's usually a combination of benefits they were owed but delayed. It's very real. And if you're in a similar position, whether because of missed benefits, pending appeals, or residency in a state offering relief, you might have something coming your way too. One more important note, the timing of these payments can vary dramatically. Some people receive back pay within 30 days of their approval. Others wait 6 months. And when it comes to VA settlements or Social Security recalculations, it could take a year or more, especially if legal reviews or audits are involved. The key takeaway is, don't ignore strange deposits, and don't delete letters from SSA or the VA without reading them carefully. You might be surprised what's inside. And let's talk about banking for a second, because direct deposit is the default method now for federal benefits. If your bank information is outdated or you haven't checked your SSA settings in a while, you could miss a payment or delay it. Always make sure your routing and account numbers are correct, especially if you've changed banks recently. And if you ever receive a check instead of a deposit, call your local SSA office. It could mean they had trouble confirming your banking info. So what can you do now to stay ahead? First, log into your MISA account or call the SSA directly. If you're a veteran, do the same with your benefits or VA GOV portal. Second, check if your state has any upcoming relief programs, rebates, or supplemental payments for seniors or disabled residents. You'd be surprised how many of those programs fly under the radar, but still deposit real money into people's accounts. And third, stay informed. You don't have to scroll through endless headlines or chase rumors. Just stick with trusted updates, real documents, and sources that explain the full picture, like we're doing here today. The truth is, our government systems are massive, complicated, and sometimes painfully slow. But that doesn't mean they don't work. It just means you've got to be persistent and proactive. That $5,400 deposit someone received? It wasn't luck. It was patience, paperwork, and staying informed. And if you're watching this and wondering if something like that could happen for you, the answer is maybe. But the first step is knowing what's possible, what's confirmed, and where to go next. And now, you do.